are you?
Every once in a while.
So anyway, Ryan, I start off the show pretty simply. We're going to talk about you and what you do and all that stuff. If people want your information, it's all down below. People can get there or in the description of the video. I start the show in a simple way, and that's to ask you a dumb question because it breaks the ice. It tells us who you are. Have you ever seen a ghost?
I can say no, not to my awareness. But,
okay.
A lot of ghosts are invisible, so maybe I have and didn't even know it.
Well, what do you consider a ghost? Or do you consider ghosts real in any way, shape, or form?
You know what? I can say that I don't know for sure. But there's one thing I can say, there's a lot of things in life I am happy to admit or even just speak about that I don't. If you don't know something, I don't know, right? A wise man once said, if you don't know something, don't say that you do. But what I would consider a ghost is, somebody who's proof of life after death in a physical form on Earth.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway. I told you it's a stupid question. And it gives us a little information about you and who you are. So you are a life coach. Now, a lot of people have a very questionable feeling towards life coaches. They feel that there are life coaches on every street corner these days and that it's really, really crowded. Could you address that and tell us about why you are a life coach and
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, and it's a great question, man. It's a great point, right? I mean, so anybody, with the coaching industry as a whole, there is anybody can technically call themselves a coach. You could tomorrow say, listen, I'm no longer the host of the Jesse Lewis Show. I'm now a life coach, right? And technically, you could market yourself and say that's what I am. I think anybody out there who's considering coaching, but maybe might be turned off by the fact that they believe that there's just coaches in every corner and it's not a real thing or whatever. First of all, wherever you do, you're going to want to make sure that your coach is certified, in my opinion. And not only certified, but certified by an organization, which typically would be what's called an ACTP or an accredited coach training program. And that's done through the ICF or the International Coaching Federation. So just like anything else, wherever you're going in any service that you want to do in life, you want to make sure that people are qualified. You also want to make sure that they've been doing it for X amount of time, or at least have some sort of a background that appeals to you. So it's not just about being a coach. It's also about deciding what type of a human being I want to connect with and I want to speak with on a regular basis. And do they align with my values? Do they align with who I want to be? Have they worked with people like me in the past? And then along those lines, also get some referrals. So, there's life coaches on every corner, but there's also, accountants on every corner. And there's also, all sorts of industry that there's billions of people on Earth. There's millions of people in the US. And so I think just because there's a lot of us out there, I think there's certainly going to be quality. There's going to be not quality. But it's up to anybody who's interested in utilizing a coach to really do the research and find out what makes that coach quality.
That makes sense. Sorry, I shouldn't say, it's one of the things I've been told to stop saying. Anyway, when you are talking about certifications, I think it's really important. It's just like the hypnosis industry. That's what I do. My job is as a stage hypnotist. And theoretically, you could call yourself a hypnotist tomorrow. It wouldn't matter. And people can come to you as a client. But it's having that real background, that real certification, not just the certification that's handed out as a piece of paper. Because let's face it, there are some companies doing that for coaching, right? Here, do this 15 minutes course and you're a life coach.
You too can be a coach by listening to my CD. It's like, oh, okay, thanks.
That's exactly it. When you look at the industry of life coaching and what you do specifically, from reading your bio, and I'm going to be honest, half of my brain is gone, so I don't remember all of your bio. But you've been doing it since 2009. That's a pretty long time. We're sitting at 11 years already, eh?
Yeah, totally. Next to parenthood, I always say that coaching is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done and will ever do. I think the reason that I love both of those things is they're both spaces where I am consistently teaching and learning at the same time. So it's a space where you can connect with another person and also help them to be the best version of themselves. And while doing that, having conversations and being a guide in that space, remind yourself of certain truths and remind your subconscious of who you are. And sometimes someone's reaction or response to your guidance may teach you a lesson in itself, especially in parenthood, but often in coaching. And so, 10 years in, I will definitely coach on some level for the rest of my life.
That makes sense. When you talk about parenthood and coaching, there's a lot of similarities there, just in general, because it sounds bad, but you're taking someone who may not necessarily be mature in their attitude or their perspective, and you're coaching them to get mature in their perspective. When you work with clients, do you ever? Sometimes it's hard for people to understand what their dreams and their goals actually are. So how do you work through that to actually get a person to where they need to be or where they think they need to be? Because sometimes where they think they need to be isn't where they actually need to be.
Yeah, it's a great question. The challenge, I think, with most people in that situation is they feel like they have to have the right answer right away. And as soon as you say to somebody in your example, like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what do you want to do later? Who do you want to be?
A dinosaur.
They immediately go to, I don't know, right? I don't know, because if I give you an answer, that means that now all of a sudden I have to commit to that.
Yeah.
And so I think there becomes some freedom in not having to know the answer. And so a lot of the time, whether it be knowing what you want to do or whatever you want to be, it's giving them the opportunity to be wrong and say, listen, we don't need to have the right answer today, but what might be an answer? And as soon as you do that, you've given them permission to access the right side of their brain and start getting more creative and step and have to be more logical. And once you start getting to the creative brain, there's more opportunity and there's more possibility. And people can kind of come from a place of creativity and curiosity and instead of judgment. And when you start to get curious, genuinely curious as a coach about where somebody wants to be and who they want to be and how they want to show up, it empowers them to make decisions and come from a creative space. And then also then going back to, hey, this doesn't have to be for the rest of your life, but let's work on this today. If this is what's coming up for you, and that's why coaches meet regularly. That's why when I work with my clients, it's not, we're going to, you can't really, I certainly do one-off coaching occasionally, especially with somebody I already know. I'm happy to have a coaching conversation with you and help you see if we can help you get something worked on or, some shifts made. But really when I take on clients, I have a minimum of 3 months. And that's because it does take a certain amount of time and there is back and forth and there is growth. And a lot of the work is actually done in between our work together. So it's not even done during those specific sessions. So it's the in-between time. And hey, let's work on this today. And then when we come back together next week, let's just see what happened. What's different this week from last week? Do you still want to be on that path? Did you take action towards it? What lessons have you learned since we spoke last? And so it's about patience, because you don't necessarily have to have the answer today. You don't have to make all the changes today, but through that curiosity and creativity is when you start coming up with options and you start taking action on it, right? And then the second piece is to definitely take the action.
So with this stuff that's going on in the world right now, the COVID stuff, we'll tackle that. Are you seeing, I guess a big problem is people have been stuck with what they've been doing for a long, long time. A lot of people have. Are you seeing people turning to coaching more now because they have this freedom? I know it's not really freedom, but they've had everything pulled out from under them, right?
Sure.
So yeah, are there more people turning into coaching?
I can't say whether it's been more or less, but it doesn't seem like all of a sudden there's like droves of people coming in looking for coaching. I mean, I think people are uncertain in general right now, right? There's so much uncertainty in so many different areas and levels. So I think a couple of my clients, my newer clients in particular, have been like, hey, listen, this might seem like the worst time to do this, but for me, it feels like the best time. It's like, okay, so if I'm in a space of uncertainty and I have this time on my hands, what a better place than to work on myself? If I'm here anyway, I could spend 10 hours a day watching Netflix, or I could spend X amount of time choosing to be who I want to be when this is all over and taking action towards it and getting, working with somebody to kind of guide me and give me some reflection on the best version of myself and what I can actually be doing with my time between now and whenever.
Everybody, if you have a question for Stanley, please leave a message. It may pop up if you're connected through StreamYard. I'll see the message and we'll actually ask him live if that's okay. We have 6 people watching currently, which is my second highest record.
Nice. Gotta represent.
For a live stream, that's actually not that bad. When you talk about coaching, what type of coaching do you? A lot of people want like business coaching or relationship coaching. Do you have a specific type of coaching that you do?
I don't. I mean, I spent a lot of my career coaching musicians and people in the music industry based on my background before that, where I started off in 2008. When I decided to become a coach, I was working in artist management and I was managing a bunch of bands. And so what I loved most about that was working with people, working with creative people and helping them to be the best versions of themselves, but inspiring them to take larger steps and set bigger goals and really helping them recognize that anything is possible if you're working towards it, that type of a thing. I didn't necessarily like dealing with shady club owners, and I didn't necessarily like dealing with members of the band if they didn't want to show up to practice on time or they didn't want to have as many gigs. It became more babysitting than it was actually, being a team and creating. And so a number of other things that I didn't love about being a manager where I was. And so I decided to become a coach so I could still do all the things that I loved and work with creative people and empower them, but do it on my own terms and get rid of the things I didn't like. So for a number of years, that was my main focus. And then as I've kind of matured with myself and actually developed higher coaching skills, more and more people, I was actually the internal coach for one of the leading coach training programs in the world. And so I've done a lot of leadership coaching as well. So I get a mix. I mean, I have people who, through referrals and my background, musicians who find me, but I've worked with authors, I worked with doctors, I worked with all sorts of people. So really, it's just people who are genuinely interested in being the best versions of themselves, knowing that based on their life's experience up until now, they've had blocks, they've had fears, they've had limiting beliefs, they've had things that have kept them back. And they're just interested in having an honest conversation with somebody on a regular basis to help them get past those things and to show up more on purpose and decide who they want to be and do something about it.
Do you find that you're still able to hear me? I just had a big.
Nope, very fine. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Do you find that when you're coaching people, they don't actually know where they want to go?
Sure, sometimes. I think typically when someone comes to me, though, they know that they want to be someplace different, right? And sometimes that is part of the coaching process. Sometimes it is trying to help get clarity on what that looks like, what that feels like, not only where they want to go, but who they want to be. Who they want to be every day when they wake up. We get so caught up in living a life that we've lived for the past X amount of years, and we're doing the same thing every day. And so you get the same results that you had before. And so sometimes they just need somebody to kind of hold up a mirror and help and redirect them in a space that helps, serve their path better.
That makes perfect sense. I do apologize for the pause. I'm trying to think it through properly.
Apologies.
So if a person was to look for a coach or at least have an idea of where they wanted to go, what's the first steps to actually finding a qualified coach and then from there actually starting to achieve what they want to achieve?
Sure. So I think, going back to what we said at the start of the conversation, first place to start is make sure they are qualified. And by the way, that's not for me to say that there's no qualified coaches out there who aren't certified. There are many people who have lived a life that has taught them a lot of lessons. A lot of the time what they're doing, though, isn't necessarily coaching. A lot of the time what they're doing is consulting in some form or mentoring, which is all awesome and can serve, different people in different ways. A true coach, though, isn't necessarily giving the answers. It's not telling people, hey, I've had a great life. I've had a perfect life. And if you do what I've done, you're going to have a perfect life. From my experience, a great coach is somebody who's going to help you recognize that you have the answers within. But again, you're just blocked by fears and you're blocked by limiting beliefs and you're blocked by your past experiences. So I think qualification comes into, from my experience, I certainly say it makes sense to see what type of certification they have, what type of at least education they have. And that might be an experience in life and you get some more clarity around them. But a lot of the time, again, it's about really finding somebody who you align with and you connect with on a personal level. I mean, because you want to trust this person and you want to show up as your best self and you want them to do the same. So referrals are important. Any content that you can find on any coaches is great. I don't do a ton of social content, but what I do is authentic. I recently wrote my own book, and so that, speaks to itself as well. And so find out what this person is about. And it's not just about hiring a coach. It's about hiring the coach that's right for you.
So where can people find the book? Is it in one of the links below or where can people actually find it?
Definitely. So obviously you can go to ryanstanley.com. So the title of the book is Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful. So it's a first aid kit for the emotional bumps, scrapes, and bruises of life. And that's what it literally is. It's a place. So I'm not a reader, Jesse. I'd like to be, I'm an Audible guy. I will listen to books as often as I can, but I love personal development. I love self-growth, but I'm going to have personally, just with the way my brain works, I'm going to have a challenge sitting down and reading a 300-page book, especially when the first 100 pages are, here's what we're going to tell you. The second 100 pages are, now we're telling you. And the third 100 pages are, let's tell you what we just told you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted something to where I'm having a tough day. I am stressed. I'm overwhelmed. I just need something that I can pick up quickly and find something that will serve me in the moment. And I can glean from and I can take something to move forward. And I'm not going to say there aren't books out there like that, but I didn't have one particular that I definitely was a go-to for me. So I decided to create one. So to answer your question, you can go to ryanstanley.com. At the top of my website, there's a button that says Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful, which is why I brought it up in that way. So you can click on that. If you buy on my website, you'll get a copy signed from me, and it also comes with a complimentary coaching session.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and if you want to check it out, it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Nobles, wherever books are sold. Feel free just to kind of search by either my name or Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful. But also on Amazon, you'll see some reviews, and so that's probably the best place to find it.
You with the book you brought up, the books you have brought up, and how they're designed, they're teaching people 3 times, and a lot of the time people can't connect with what's written because it's literally the same thing 3 times, just in different wording. And when you see something like that, how does it make you feel that people are trying to represent themselves as a coach, but they're not actually getting to the point and getting through to people?
Listen, I mean, I don't have any judgment towards it at all. I mean, I think again, going back to earlier in the conversation, there's billions of people on planet Earth, right? And so people are going to vibe with what they're going to vibe with. And so, there's something for everybody out there. And so no matter what you want to do, a lot of the time people are fear of judgment, or not enough people wanting to be their customers or their clients or whatever. But, 99.9% of us are not McDonald's, right? We don't need to have billions and billions and served. And so I think if you're being your authentic, true self, and you're putting out the message that speaks to you and you want to speak to others with, then that's what the people who you speak to are going to find it. And they're going to share, and they're going to hang out with other people who are like you as well, or like them at least, and share that as well. So, I mean, that whole point of, I was very clear. That's just not for me. Like, but there's a lot of great books out there actually that are like that, and I found to be great books. I just never make it to the end.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I'll get 3 quarters away. So this is something different.
A lot of the time when I'm watching a video, I actually play it at 2 times speed because I cannot. It's crazy for a lot of people because they hear when it talks, but I have to play it at 2 times speed because my brain keeps up at a certain speed.
Yeah.
When you're coaching people, are you using specific modeling methods or NLP or anything like that, or is that incorporated at all into your coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's probably a combination of all sorts of different things. There are listening skills that are important. I utilize a lot of NLP in general, just because I think it's important to rewire our brains and to set it intentionally and choose what we want to think about and plant seeds for our subconscious as often as possible. So being aware of your words is extremely important from my perspective. Choosing your words is choosing your thoughts, choosing your action. All of that is something that most people probably don't probably don't utilize as often as they could, in my opinion. And so a lot of the time, that's some of the first things that we work on. Like, how often are you using these words? What are you telling yourself? What's your interior dialogue like on a regular, daily basis? Are you saying, I can't do that because I should have done that? Are you judging yourself consistently? Or are you creating, again, coming from curiosity and stepping into your greatness? What can I do next? Who can I be tomorrow? What am I willing and able to do about that? It's amazing how much judgment comes through just through regular daily conversation. And Jesse, I don't know if you can see me. It looks like you have frozen. As far as I can tell, I can still see me and the tickers going on the bottom of the screen. So I don't know if I'm frozen or if you're frozen. So I will take this opportunity to again say, check out ryanstanley.com and be patient, be present, be joyful. I also, if you are a coach and you are out there and you love coaching and you got into coaching so that you can serve others like I did, and you decided to do this, but you have a challenge selling, then check out teachmetosell.com. This is an organization co-founded by me and my partner, Kirk Van Linden. And teachmetosell.com, it's a sales training organization for service-oriented solopreneurs that are people who are interested in serving coaches, direct sales, consultants, people that want to be service-oriented. They want to change the world through their efforts, through their time, and now they've never had any experience in sales before. So that's what we do. We want to serve those who want to serve so that they can serve more people. So even if you've got a new job working for a company and you're doing sales, and you maybe haven't had a background in sales, but you love the organization that. Oh, Jesse, you're back.
I'm back. Yeah.
I just went on a pitch for my other company, teachmetosell.com. I hope that's okay. I figured the best way.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So my internet dropped out, and I switched over quickly to my phone.
Nice. Welcome back.
I apologize.
No need for apology. Technology. Listen, everything happens exactly as it's supposed to, my friend.
So teachmetosell.com. What's that about?
Well, I did just share it, but teachmetosell.com, it is a sales training organization for solopreneurs, people who want to coach, they want to serve, they want to help the world in some capacity. And so they got into either, a lot of times there's people who sell essential oils, or there's people who, have direct sales, or, they do want to do something that's going to help others. And so they learned about this, and it seems like a great opportunity. Maybe they got into coaching, but they haven't had any experience in sales. And all of a sudden they have to tell somebody how much it costs. And they get all weird and uncomfortable, which makes perfect sense based on their life. But it heeds them from doing what they can do best. And so teachmetosell.com was co-founded by myself, my partner, Kirk Van Linden, who has a tremendous experience training in Fortune 500 companies in sales training. And so I bring the mindset piece. He brings in the sales training piece, and he also is a coach. And so, I also have sales experience. And so we certainly have both. But we each have our superpower. And so we train people to be the best versions of themselves while they're selling whatever it is that they do.
A lot of people think selling is a dirty word, or salesman is a dirty word. They conjure up thoughts of that old used car salesman. And for me personally, that's business. If I wasn't a salesman, I wouldn't be in business. And sure. I think it harkens back even farther than that to the carnival people who were doing pitches and stuff. But a lot of that stuff is still a valid way to sell stuff, but it's not as overt as it once was, right? You used to go and see the carnival pitchman and you'd walk away with a piece of lead, basically. Right. How do you justify it to people that, number one, they obviously can't be selling garbage, right? But 100%. How do you justify it as a sales tactic to make people feel comfortable with what they're selling? Like the essential oils, for instance, which can help people, but people are afraid sometimes to even get the word out there.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes down to service. So first of all, if you are really there to serve people, and that's why we specifically chose this audience, we want to work with people who want to serve. Like, this is not just that you're selling anything. It's not even about garbage, but if you want to sell something that is making the world a better place, and you know that for a fact, then what you're doing is actually serving someone else. And when you remove the whole concept or any background that you've had of sales being a bad thing or a dirty word, there are some tips and techniques from old school that can hold true, but really, it's definitely a new world. I mean, it's definitely, just through the power of internet marketing, but also just the type of conversation. One of the things that we hit the hammer on, we use our hammer to hit the nail on the head with many times, is do the right person for every person, do the right thing for every person every time. And if you know that's what you're doing going into any sales conversation that you have, you're already ahead of the game. We actually have a Facebook group for anybody that they can check out. It's called The Art of Sales Without Selling. And so that's another place where we do a weekly live Facebook, and we just kind of talk to people about different sales tips that kind of come into play. I do a weekly intention setting. So every Monday morning, I just set up some intentions to help people, anybody who's in the group, to set some intentions for the week. So all of that is part of it, right? So, I mean, when you say, like, if you're doing essential oils as an example, what are my intentions? Are my intentions just to get this money? No, my intention are to give somebody something that can change their life. And it happened to cost X. If you were working at the register for an essential oil store and someone came up to you and said, hey, is this any good? And you really thought it was, you'd say, yes, it's amazing. And they say, how much does it cost? You say $19.95. They say, okay, thanks. As opposed to, I don't know, it costs $19.95. Should I put it in the register, or are you going to put it back on the shelf, or let me give you it for half price? That wouldn't be the case. Yeah. And so a lot of it's around being comfortable with who you are and knowing that you're there to make a friend and knowing that you're there to serve somebody else's journey.
I think for me, with sales, it breaks down into being congruent with what I'm actually selling, right? If I don't believe in what I'm selling, then why would I ever sell it? I'm not going to go sell a rake that breaks, right? I'm going to sell something that works.
Yeah.
We're at 24 minutes. I do apologize for the break that we took, that I took there for a second. That's the second time that's happened in 70 episodes. So
there you go. Must be lucky then.
Once more before we end off here, because we're at 24 minutes, so we got about 6 minutes left. People can find you at ryanstanley.com, and I'm assuming all of your stuff is there. It's not just the coaching stuff. You have the sales stuff as well.
That is, in fact, it's on my list of things to do today, is kind of put a little bit more Teach Me to Sell on ryanstanley.com. So those are the two main websites, would be ryanstanley.com and teachmetosell.com. But Teach Me to Sell is pretty easy to remember. It's like, hey, what do I want to do? I want you to teach me to sell.
That's awesome. Now, how many kids you got?
I have 2.
How old are they?
They are 9 and 6.
Cool. I got an 11-year-old here.
Nice.
And you talk about being congruent with your sales message, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to figure out who the person behind everything is. So who's the person that's actually behind RyanStanley.com? I don't want the sales guy. I want the human being. Can you tell me who you actually are?
Yeah, well, I hope that's come across actually through it, because there really is the same person. And you know, that's not a canned answer. Like I generally, one of the things I love about life is being as authentic as possible. I literally show up on purpose every day with intention of who I want to be. I spend a lot of time creating, like deciding who I want to be in every aspect of my life, as a father, as a husband, as a partner, as a, you know, as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a human being. And so, you know, I literally spend about 3 hours every morning kind of setting my day up for who I want to be, between exercise, between meditation, between daily affirmations, between journaling. And so the person behind Ryan Stanley is Ryan Stanley. And really that is very intentional. And I'm glad to be there.
You know where I was going with that, right? A lot of us try to wear masks in front of everybody, and that's not what my show is about. And I try to get rid of the masks. Now, normally I would end off on what have you done to make yourself happy today, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask you this stupid question. It's not stupid for you. It's probably one of the most personal things you're ever going to be asked. What is one of the proudest things that you've ever taught your children? The thing you're most proud that you taught them?
You know, that's a great question, Jesse. Thank you. I would say that it's funny because I just shared it with you guys throughout this call. Be yourself. Decide who you want to be every single day and do something about it.
That makes sense. I like that. It's difficult with kids these days to get that message across with all the other stuff that they have going on.
Totally.
And
the only thing I would just add to that, Jesse, you're right, that there's so much things in life that are difficult. But what comes down to, like anything, right? It's difficult to run a marathon. It's difficult to get in shape. I'm just using those as examples, but what they take practice. They take building your muscles, right? Totally.
Yeah.
It takes consistency. And so the same thing is with parenting and sharing that with your children. If you remind them every single day that they every day have an option to decide who they want to be, and different kids at different ages are going to listen. There's going to be pushback. There's not going to remember everything. I have a 6-year-old who says, guess what, about 800 times a day. And so every day I have to remind him not to say, guess what, and 6 times in every conversation. So that takes practice. It takes consistency. But, like anything else, we are constantly being programmed by our experience. And so it's up to us to decide what program we're putting in there. And so as parents, there's really nothing more important to fill them with curiosity, to fill them with just a decision to decide who they want to be, and let them know that they have the ability to do that.
That makes sense. I like it. And I like you as a person, I think. We could probably have coffee at some point. I want to thank you for coming on. We're at 28 minutes, so we're going to end the show. If that's all right, if you've got no further messages. Ladies and gentlemen, RyanStanley.com, and you've seen the stuff scrolling below. If you need them, I'm sure I put them in the description as well. And go to RyanStanley.com. That's the easiest way, right?
Yeah, you can contact me from there, and we'll get it rocking.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ryan. We end the show in one way. I need you to wave bye-bye, and I'll hit end.
Thanks, Jesse.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, everybody.